Sex scandals are nothing new for a Republican Party that purports, when it's daylight, to place family values above all others, but it is still not every day that the Republican National Committee is caught using party funds to reimburse a political official for the four-figure tab he rang up at a lesbian and bondage-themed nightclub in West Hollywood. Waiter, this steak tastes like leather. Sir, everything here tastes like leather. Just the latest scandal threatening to end the whipsaw tenure of Michael Steele as GOP chairman. Filings with the Federal Election Commission showing that nearly $2,000 in RNC money was used to pay back Eric Brown, a California-based political consultant who charged the committee for his night out at Voyeur, a risque nightclub in West L.A. It is not clear who at the RNC reimbursed Brown or who from the committee might have been with him at the club, but it has been enough to instigate outrage. One conservative women's group that contributes money to the RNC asking party leadership for answers. Did you really swill drinks, ogle young girls, and plan party business at this kind of establishment? Please explain. Others now asking not for an explanation, but for a resignation from Chairman Steele. Let us turn now to David Weigel, senior reporter for the Washington Independent. He'll soon be blogging for the Washington Post. David, good evening.
Thank you. Good to be here.
A bondage-themed strip club. Somebody thought they could expense nearly $2,000 at a bondage-themed strip club and get away with it? I mean, does the place at least have a nice salad bar?
I'm not sure. I'm willing to conduct field research, I think, if the RNC will pay me. But no, this isn't supposed to happen. I think that goes without saying, but I talked to people who have done contract work for the RNC or worked at the RNC and try to get a sense of how this would work. And you're not supposed to submit an expense report this big as a contractor and raise no eyebrows, just get the thing approved. It was a huge snafu. By some level. And the RNC has stumbled a bit, I think, in not explaining why this happened, instead going after the source, which is actually Tucker Carlson's newspaper.
Mm-hmm. So this is the party that, as I suggest, uses family values as a brand name, and it seems that once again they've gotten caught with their hand in the cookie jar. But how many times do they have to get caught with the hand in the cookie jar before the conservative base that actually believes something, whether you agree with them or not? They have core beliefs. At what point do they give up on them or realize they're being taken by these people?
Well, there's a lot of forgiveness there. There's a lot of cheek turning in the Republican base, but there's also, I think, a decrease in the importance of the Republican National Committee to conservative activists. I mean, this weekend, it's turned out we might have seen a 72-hour torch passing between activists wanting to spend their money on groups like the Tea Party Express and activists wanting to spend their money on the RNC. Let's keep in mind, Steele's in trouble as much as he is, not just because of gaffes and things like that, but because February was probably the best month for Republicans in 4 or 5 years, and they only raised about as much money as the Democrats did, about $7.5 million. These activists are already going elsewhere.
So to just use one definition of the relevancy of cheek turning here in this particular story, Mr. Steele's epitaph has been written countless times in the last year and a half. But are the people who are supporting him actually going to turn that metaphoric cheek once again? Can he actually survive this scandal?
I'd bet on him surviving. I mean, I talked to some people who are critical openly of Michael Steele frequently, and they're the sort of people who actually leaked half of this story about the rumors of him wanting a private jet, rumors of him wanting various and sundry expensive things. It's just not feasible to push the guy out this close to an election. I mean, people laugh when they talk about him running for re-election for the presidential cycle, but not losing out immediately. There's just more focus on why this happened lower in the RNC. You're not supposed to make this many mistakes in an election year. You're supposed to be operating 100%, and they are getting snowed, again, in a time that should be very good for them politically. That's very good for Sarah Palin, very good for the Tea Parties. The RNC can't quite make all of its engines hum.
Well, you've cut to the chase in this, I think, David, and this begs my last question. This delicate kind of, I use the Escher analogy a lot, but it looks like an M.C. Escher drawing. The staircases are going up and down at the same time. Right. this delicate MC Escher interaction between the Republican Party and the Tea people, it really is, there's kind of a suspicious tolerance one to the other. Is this the sort of thing, though, that sends the Tea Party people really off the cliff, and they start waving information like $2,000 at the place where they turn the cheek, and $43,000 at an annual meeting in Hawaii that doesn't include the airfare, and $30,000 on private planes and limousines just in February? Is this the thing that splits them again?
I think it just amplifies and accelerates what's already going on. Tea Party activists are finding their own candidates. Conservative activists are finding their own candidates. People like Jim DeMint has his own Senate Conservatives Fund, which is competing with the official Republican Senatorial Committee. I mean, if you check out blogs, if you talk to people at Tea Parties, they're very uninterested in what these Washington, D.C. committees are doing. And I mean, you see people coming back with their hat in hand rather than leading these people.
David Weigel of the Washington Independent, soon to be blogging with the Post. Great thanks. Congratulations on that. All the best.
Thank you. Good to see you back.
Thank you. There is more over-the-top hyperbolic hypocrisy tonight. The story of Bill O'Reilly, the plane, and the Playboy. Well, unfortunately, it is hardly all laughs. The right-wing militias, the idea of which the right wing mocked, one was stopped apparently within weeks of a terrorist attack in this country on the premise that the government was the enemy and the police were the weapons of the Antichrist. More in a moment.